Hello boys and girls, YouTubers, welcome back. Below zero, yeah, I haven't made a video for a long time, probably about a year or so. So here I am coming back with a final review of my Vstrom 1000. This is 2015 model. I did made a couple overview, a review of this bike. First one was just after I bought it, like first impressions. The second one was after about 5,000 kilometers. And right now I'm sitting on season 3, 20,000 kilometers later. I want to actually kind of summarize everything and give you my final verdict about this bike. Well, let's start first from the engine. I think Suzuki did an amazing job with this V-twin. It pushes about 100 horsepower, 75 foot-pound of torque, and in my opinion, it's tuned absolutely perfectly. Majority of that power comes down low, between, I don't know, 2 and 5,000 RPM, and then the upper portion of that rev range is kind of reserved for highway riding, for cruising speeds. The power plant on Vstrom 1000 is the biggest plus. And when you talk about motorcycle, I mean, everything is about an engine. I hope you agree about that. So if you're happy with the engine, if that portion of the motorcycle is the best part of the bike, then you have a winner, no question about it. I really wouldn't change anything because, as I said, the power delivery is exceptionally well tuned. Gear ratio is great as well. Everything from operational perspective works as it should. So, you know, I wouldn't really complain about anything on Vstrom 1000 when it comes to engine, transmission, and drivability. Riding on a highway on Vstrom 1000 is absolutely effortless. This is where that 1 liter engine, 75 foot-pound of torque and 100 horsepower comes to play. That's the difference between 1000 and 650cc Vstrom. I mean, I'm not saying that 650 is underpowered, not at all. I mean, you can definitely enjoy, and it will do almost everything that 1000 can do. But as far as 2-up goes, riding with a passenger on a long hauls, 1000cc, in my opinion, is much better. It doesn't really matter in which gear you are. There's going to be always some juice left, some torque left to overtake the vehicles, cars around, and make it through the traffic. This is where Vstrom really shines. Country roads with speed limits between 70 and 100 kilometers per hour. That's about, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. To be honest, 90% of all miles that I clocked on this bike are made on roads like this. You can go off-road, absolutely no problem, with right tires. This thing is going to serve you well. You can spend times on the highway, countless hours. Vstrom will do really well. You can go and stop and go traffic and do city riding. Maybe it's not ideal, but Vstrom will do it. But when it comes to the whole purpose of this bike, I think this kind of roads, these type of, I don't know, speed limits are absolutely ideal. This is what this motorcycle was built for. I don't know honestly what else to tell you on that plus side about Vstrom 1000. Mechanically, it's pretty sound. Knock on wood, this thing didn't give me any major problems. From maintenance perspective, it's pretty cheap. So the cost of ownership is going to be pretty low. As far as the maintenance go, I'm just changing oil and oil filter every 5,000–6,000 kilometers. I'm maintaining the chain, changing brake pads and tires, and that's pretty much it. In comparison to some fancy brands like Ducati and KTM and BMW, this thing is cheap to own. Even the price tag for new or used Vstrom is not as high as those other guys. Now, you can't really compare them because those 3 other brands, those motorcycles are definitely more
advanced, more sophisticated than Vstrom 1000. But if you're looking at mid-range adventure touring motorcycle, this is it. This is definitely a very good choice. On the minus side, it'll be one thing, and that's city riding. That's maybe the only minus in my books about Vstrom 1000. And I'm going to tell you why. Size and weight. This is a large bike, 515 pounds wet. It definitely, you need some strength to move this thing around. Now, if you're stuck in the traffic for, I don't know, more than an hour, something like this, stop and go bumper to bumper, you're gonna feel it. Now, if you're doing this 5 days a week, you get my point. It can be very tiring. Now, if I'm on a market to get a motorcycle for daily commute, if I need to spend maybe 2-3 hours a day in a city riding like this, I will probably go with 250 to 500 cc naked bike, something really small and light. Vstrom really is kind of like long distance haul motorcycle, something that you will take on long trips, but definitely, in my opinion, not something that I will buy to ride in a city every day.
Fuel economy is pretty average for 1 liter engine. This is 18-liter tank, and I can go about 360 kilometers on a highway with a full tank of gas. It's not, once again, the best fuel mileage. It's not the worst. It is exactly as advertised. So there are better fuel economy bikes out there. Honda is definitely one of them. But it's not the worst either. So if you're comparing this to BMW or KTM, fuel economy on Vstrom is slightly better. So it is a big tank. You're going to be able to travel about 200 plus miles or 350, 360 kilometers out of tank, which in my books is pretty good.
Another big plus for this motorcycle is suspension. Nothing fancy about it. It's not electronic suspension like you will find on KTM or BMW. So you can adjust suspension based on your riding style, on your height and weight and everything else. And it works really good. Even riding 2-up, you just need to soften up that rear shock and you're going to be good to go. So what you get right out of the factory, it's really, really good. So once again, Suzuki didn't cheap out on suspension on Vstrom 1000. They did a really good job. It's not, once again, the best suspension in the world, but what you get is pretty darn good. Another thing that I had a problem with was original windscreen. I changed it and I replaced it with GV Airflow, and it works like a charm right now. I have no complaints whatsoever. It's not a big thing. It wasn't a big ticket item that I had to worry about or shed a lot of cash in order to make things work the way that I want. But as I said, windshield, original one that came with this motorcycle, was not tall enough or wide enough to provide any substantial wind protection. Actually was making things even worse because there was a lot of buffeting and a lot of turbulence that you as a rider was feeling behind that screen. Everything was fixed with $170 investment when I purchased this one, and I can't be happier. I received a couple of questions about Vstrom 1000 as a beginner's bike. I don't think so. I wouldn't recommend this as a first bike. It's not about the engine size or how powerful or weak it is and blah blah blah. It's about weight and size of this bike. 515 pounds wet with high center of gravity. It's top heavy motorcycle. It can be quite intimidating, especially for novice riders. So if you ask me personally, I will go with 250, 500 first, ride it maybe for a season or two, and then jump on Vstrom. So if I need to summarize Vstrom 1000, I will say this thing is jack of all trades. It doesn't do anything exceptionally well. but it does everything pretty darn good. So when I was picking up motorcycle, that was my guideline. I was interested in getting a bike that will fit the bill for 4 key parameters, and that was power, comfort, riding quality, and low cost of ownership. And this thing pretty much fits all the bills when it comes to those 4 categories. Anyway guys, that's what I have for you for today. That's my final review, conclusion of Vstrom 1000. What I think about it, what I like and what I don't like. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any question, please put it down in the comment section. Let me know what you think, especially if you're owner of Vstrom 650, 1000. Let me know what are your impressions. What do you think about this particular motorcycle? Anyway, I'm gonna wrap things up. Thanks again for watching. If you didn't do it, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll see you next one. Cheers. Peace.